After planning to build a moon base and a futuristic city on Mars, SpaceX CEO Elon Musk is now reaching for newer heights. He has now shifted his attention to Jupiter's fourth largest moon, Europa. And while that itself sounds completely epic, wait till the end of the video to find out how all of it can work out. Now, if you are in the loop on things, you will know that NASA has signed a deal with SpaceX, basically finalizing a trip to space in 2024. It was after this that SpaceX decided that they needed to put themselves on other celestial bodies because the moon might just be too done to death and trite for the most innovative tech house in the world right now. Their Europa Clipper spacecraft, worth a whopping $4.25 billion, is geared up to launch off of the SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket, according to a contract that holds a net value of approximately $178 million. Yes, that is a huge deal. So keep watching till the very end of the video because we are about to get right into it. So, what exactly is happening? You see, you might already be familiar with Elon Musk's preoccupation with Mars. He has actually gone on record urging people to boost the Earth's population because that way there will be a lot of people to send to Mars in order to inhabit the futuristic Martian city that he foresees. Yeah, he's actually that serious about expanding his boundaries. But now it's like he has outgrown his Mars dream. That obviously doesn't mean that he's abandoning his preoccupation with them, he's also just moving on to newer adventures. Very recently, SpaceX entered into a deal with NASA around space missions in 2024, potentially to try a hand at building a base on the moon. And now Elon Musk is all set to set his sights beyond that. His most recent interest is Europa, which is one of Jupiter's many moons. Out of the giant planet's band of satellites, Europa is the fourth largest one, which means that we now have a whole different celestial body, and Musk's interest in it, to dissect. The genius wouldn't randomly pick one of Jupiter's moons to start building interest about, so what is it that Elon Musk sees? What could Europa offer in terms of human habitation and scientific advancement? Would human life even be a possibility on this natural satellite? Well, it's about time that we talked it out. Now, you have to keep in mind that SpaceX is already quite well acquainted with the way that NASA works. They have collaborated on quite a few projects already, and the two organizations are no strangers to each other. So this Europa Clipper project is another testimony to the trust that NASA places on Elon Musk's scientific genius. It is almost like everyone around the world is confident that this is a good idea, and Musk and SpaceX will be able to pull this off comfortably. The collaboration goes something like this. There is an agreement that NASA will be in a position to utilize SpaceX's extremely potent Falcon Heavy rocket launcher as a springboard. From there, the next stop is Europa. It is only natural to assume that there is already quite a lot of information about Europa in the hands of the big minds behind the whole operation. It is Jupiter's fourth largest moon, and it is downright frozen through and through. The objective of this mission will be, more or less, to scout around for more specific details about the environment on Europa's surface. This will lead us to more information about the possibility of human habitation on this moon. Another thing on the agenda is to look for existing signs of life. Of course, this is quite a big deal, and the due date is sometime in October 2024. The launch is scheduled to take place at NASA's Kennedy Space Station in Florida. It will take the spacecraft over 5 years to get to the destination though, so potentially in the April of 2030. The probe is then going to be programmed to make a detailed observation and study of Europa's environment for about Earth's 6 years, so that our scientists back on Earth can delve into the details to analyze the possibility of sustaining human life on it. Now, you might be aware that Europa Clipper has actually been on NASA's bucket list for a while now, since 2015 in fact, but obviously it has been getting shelved constantly because of the delays and complications with NASA's most recent moon rocket launcher, the SLS. Even the repeatedly revised flight date of November 2021 remained impossible to pull off. Maybe later this year, a scheduled test launch would finally be possible. Eventually, the SLS will finally aim to put human beings on the moon again, but whether the Europa Clipper will have any such provisions or functions is not really declared yet. Anyway, so without these scheduled SLS trial launches, NASA didn't have a launcher open till they opened up the doors to commercial launching options. And that they did, as is obvious because eventually SpaceX clinched the spot. A bunch of commercial launch vehicles surfaced as options once NASA officially called for proposals, but SpaceX's Falcon Heavy was apparently the best option to fulfill this role because of its launching power and design. Now, of course, shifting from the SLS to the Falcon Heavy means that the Europa Clipper will now follow a different path because the trajectory has to now be something that the commercial launch vehicle can propel the rocket into. This will increase the duration of the operation from a 3-year-long journey to a 5-year-long journey. That means that the meter will run a little longer and costs will potentially go up, even though the launcher itself will cost less than the SLS. Plus, the rocket itself will now need some design modifications to adjust with the commercial launch vehicle. Overall, NASA's collaboration with SpaceX will need the former to review their original plans a little, but that goes on to prove how much trust they place in Elon Musk's genius. Besides, because NASA is already familiar with SpaceX's operations thanks to the talks surrounding the lunar missions, it was only natural that they would trust Musk's Falcon Heavy. On Europa, the Europa Clipper will be responsible for conducting an incredibly detailed and thorough study of the planet of Jupiter as well as of Europa. Now, of course, the spacecraft will be full of necessary arsenal of instruments and measurements. Imaging and mapping the surface of Europa, analyzing its physical composition, and gauging the salinity levels and depths of the subsurface oceans will be some of the objectives of this operation. Basically, the Europa operation will be nothing but the first step in determining the human habitability of the icy Jovian moon. From that point the spacecraft gets to Europa, it will be engaged in constant scouting and surveillance activity. And it's just the beginning because the success of this mission will decide whether the human race moves out to Europa in the near future or not. But what do you think? Do you think that this operation will eventually pave the way for a Cowboy Bebop-style intergalactic human society? If yes, I'm very curious to hear what you imagine it to be. So do drop your comments and feel free to engage in a fun conversation about this. Oh, and if you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like and then share it with those who are just as interested in sciencey news as you. And if this is the kind of thing you would like to routinely discuss, then go ahead and press that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out a lot. And that will be all for today's video, but tap the bell icon to get immediately notified when we drop the next video, and we'll see you soon.